Welcome. So this is just a little word for Beshalach. Also, not such a great week this week, but so it'll be a little shorter than usual. But something that I found this time in the Petuch Chotam. I've gotten away from the Kliyakar for this week, but a little bit in the Petuch Chotam. Rabbi Yaakov Abu Tzikara. And so he brings out something really interesting, and it has to do with gematria, and something that I notice also about Mashiach as well. And so, want to tie these two ideas together. One of the things that's always brought up is this idea in Matthew 1:17, where it says, "So all the generations from Abraham to David are 14 generations, and from David until the Babylonian exile are 14 generations, and from the Babylonian exile until the Messiah are 14 generations." Right? So if you add up 14, 14, 14, you get to the number 42, which we know that it's not 14, 14, 14. And so why would Matthew be using this 14, 14, 14? One of the things that I think is really important is to understand that Matthew is writing from a Jewish perspective, from a Pharisaic perspective. And so gematria would have been very important to him. And the number 14 just happens to be very important for the idea of redemption, for the idea of King David. David, my name is David. My gematria is 14. And so David has a gematria of 14. But that's not what the Petuch Chotam gets into. The Petuch Chotam talks about the idea of the redemption and the three hands of Hashem. And so want to talk a little bit about that as well. Israel saw the great hand. This is the Petuch Chotam commenting on Exodus 15. And it gets into some of these interesting things, okay? So when the Jewish people witnessed the hand of the Sitra Achra, right? The Sitra Achra is the other side, or the dark side, if you will, had fallen, they could also see the great hand from the forces of holiness that had performed these miracles for them, right? So you can see both sides. There are three hands from the forces of holiness, which had all been used in Egypt and had now become complete. These hands are the great hand that is from the right side of the spiritual forces, and that brought about the plagues in Egypt, right? So the hand also has a gematria of 14. Okay, so it's the Yad HaGadola, the great hand, that is from the right side of the spiritual forces, and that brought about the plagues in Egypt, right? So the right hand, which typically represents chesed or kindness, was actually changed into judgment and used to punish the Egyptians with the idea of kindness from the right hand. The strong hand, the Yad HaZaka, again another 14, that is from the right side of the spiritual forces, and that brought about the plagues in Egypt. That is from the left side of the spiritual forces, and that was used at the sea. Okay, so the parting of the sea was used by the Yad HaZaka, the left hand. The upraised arm, the Yad Ramah, is from the center of the spiritual forces, and that was used when the Jewish people left Egypt, as the verse says, and the children of Israel left with an upraised arm. And so you have these three Yads, three 14s. Also 14 relates to the idea of David, and he's talking about how this is very important for the idea of the redemption of three hands of Hashem that are all 14. And I think that Matthew is actually catching on to this and actually using this to portray a message of this is the time of redemption, that this is the three hands, if you will, that are being used in this idea of this time of the coming redemption. And so I think that's really important to think about. I know that it's a little bit of gematria and it might be hard to wrap your head around, but 14, 14, 14 being 42. Mem and Veit is also one of the names of Hashem as well. There's a 42-letter name of Hashem, which is also important, I think, as well, when you're reading Matthew's description of the coming of Yeshua as the Messiah. that have to really be put together there. So they all believed in Hashem and they believed in his messenger. It also talks about this idea of the Shekinah being related to this idea of singing of the song. And I think that's also important as well. So why does the Torah emphasize it was only then that Moshe sang? Because it was only then, when all the Jewish people were overcome by fear, and they all believed in Hashem, that they became Tzaddikim and were worthy of singing to Hashem. The word Shirah, song, is spelled in full as Shes, Yad, Daish, and Hey. Okay, the added letters have the numerical value of 385, which is the same as the Shekinah, which interestingly is also the same as Samael and also Shor. So there's a lot of 385 all happening in this place. It's the same as the Shekinah, the divine presence. This implies that right now the Jewish people elevated the Shekinah to a higher level and united with Hashem. We can now understand the verse as follows. Then Moshe and the children of Israel sang this song. The Shirah song is the Shekinah, as they have the same numerical values explained. They then elevated and united with Hashem, i.e. the name Hashem. And they said the following, okay? It says in a Zohar, volume 2, 83b, and in the Midrash, Bereshit Rabbah 16.5, that the word le'amor said the following, refers to the Shekinah, which is symbolized by a God-fearing woman. As the verse says, could we say the following, behold, if a man should send away his wife, Ishto, every Jew at the sea was inspired through the Ruach Kodesh and burst out in unison. Let us elevate the Shekinah, which is called le'amor, said the following. This is also answers another very difficult question. A lot of people don't seem to understand in John 1. He's talking about this idea of the Shekinah, which is also called le'amor, the word. Le'amor can also be translated as the word or the saying. Said the or say in this idea of saying. And so I think that really gets into this idea of the Shekinah being embodied in every Jew, and the idea of the Ruach Kodesh being inspiring them at this time of redemption. Again, the time of the three hands, or the 3 times 14, as expressed in Matthew 1:16. That's all I have for today. Sorry that it's not more, but hope that you enjoy it, and please give me feedback. Hope to hear more from you. Thank you.